All right, we'd like to go back into our meeting. Actually, start the new meeting for our regular monthly meeting at this time. Call to order. We already did the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Correct.
think we can roll call. Susan Atkinson,
Cindy Waterston.
Vince Pagano.
Mark Eversman.
Bruce Platt.
Nathan Nally, Public Works Project Manager.
Now is Sherry
Sheriff
Brusco.
Bruce.
And Sherry
Yes.
still.
Sherry Brusco is online. I would like to make a motion to accept her comments and input.
Cindy Waterston, second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Somebody's got to work. All right, next up is public comment. I think we have some.
All right, we
people-
have two public comments. First up, Marty.
Marty Mantonfeld, PPAC member number 4, and also Monticello neighborhood. So can we get a status on where we stand with the monument painting now that all the holiday decorations are down and there's no more lights? Because I don't see anybody out there painting. Is it too cold to paint now?
Right now, yeah. They are expected to resume that. I will talk to Peggy Hall, who's kind of managing that for us, and see if they can put a priority on that.
All right, my second part of my public comment is I've listened to your debate about the contract for landscaping. Why can't we have a unified Pelican Preserve? We've got all these neighborhoods that have all different contractors. Why can't, at the president's meeting, we get them all together and we get one bid for Pelican Preserve? All the neighborhoods, all the HOAs, PPCAs, and we have one united Pelican Preserve bid.
You can work on that if you would like. That is above my pay grade at this time.
All right, thank you. That's
All right.
end of my public comment.
Other public comment?
Next public comment is Maxine Hansen.
Thank you. I'm Maxine Hansen from Trentino Estates. First of all, they are painting my Trentino Bridge. They started 2 weeks ago, and due to the inclement weather and the temperatures being so low, they couldn't paint. So hopefully they'll be back there on Monday. But I think it was Alex or Mike. Mike was working on the bridge. That was just a comment. I wanted to talk about the Villa Trentino Monument replanting, but I don't think we're at that subject yet. So do you want me to hold off on my comments?
Yeah, well, this is public comments. So
Okay. Well, I mean, I printed out the sketch, and somebody did a lot of hard work on it. It looks very nice. My only comment was we're putting in blue dazed flowers on both sides of it, which is great because the green blue rug juniper is so high you could hardly see the bottom of the name. But then they decided to put a 15-gallon purple lily, which is probably going to stand up pretty tall. And the back half of Villa Trentino Monument has a lot of golf cart traffic that cuts across that street. So I was just wondering, want to keep it low. Then they're going back with blue lily of the valley. I just wondered if the whole island or monument area might be too much blue. And then at the end with the Larope grass, love it. I just thought we should maybe go a variegated Larope grass.
Just, I know Sherry Brusco, who's online, is actually working on a little bit different design and taking into some of your considerations. So what was presented at the last meeting, I think, is being revamped.
Updated.
Yes.
Changed. Okay.
And
I
she
just didn't
will-
want to have too much blue.
No. And she will find or bring to us a different design.
I think it really, she has a nice layout. I
Okay.
just wanted to tone down some of the blue.
Okay.
That was all. And I told her I would be very willing to help her.
Okay.
Okay?
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Any other public comments at this time? All right, moving along, approval of the October 24th minutes. Does anybody have comments regarding those minutes? No questions or comments at this point. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Susan Atkinson.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we will approve those. The November meeting minutes, does anybody have questions or comments regarding the November meeting minutes? Barring none, I would like to make a motion to approve the November meeting minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, minutes approved. Financial report summary. Can you call that up, Nathan?
Yes, sir.
Just a December one would be fine. She sent November
the
and
December
December.
one?
Just call up December, please. Basically, we have money. We're not spending our budget or getting close to it. So at this time, I feel comfortable where we are. Does anybody have any questions? I mean, the holiday lighting is now done, so we have finished that, and I have approved that final payment.
Can you tell me, remind me, what's the fiscal year for?
Fiscal year starts in October,
Okay.
October 1st. So the top item is obviously, that's just the contract, that's set in stone. Everything you see below that, for the most part, is the supplemental stuff that I was talking about, where it's not included in the contract. Most of it, much of it has to be done, but we do have over $250,000 of somewhat discretionary to improve the community, replace old plants and things like that.
So the amount encumbered, I assume is like commitments.
Correct. We're gonna pay it, just hasn't reached that time
Right.
yet.
Question, Vince Pichetto?
Yes, Vince?
We don't use it, do we lose it?
No.
Because they
As
did,
you will see at the bottom, there is a reserves. Now, when I do say that, there is a potential that if, for instance, Ponds needs to do some bank restoration work that was not in their budget, and there is a chance that we could lose our reserves that is down there to Ponds. I don't have a problem with that, because in my opinion, even though they reduced our budget from previous, we're still not gonna hit our budget. And so we will end up with funds left over this year. And as long as it's not causing us issues where I'm counting on the reserves, if somebody else can use them inside Pelican, then so be it, as opposed to them needing to go out and find another income source. I mean, it's all coming out of Pelican dollars, so.
Cindy Watterson, do we need to vote on that when they move money from our budget to another committee?
PPAC does. PPAC technically owns all the budget and just distros it now.
They
Thinks
just
it's
let
you.
us think, yeah, they let us think we have some.
Does anybody else have questions regarding the budget?
No.
Okay. Board recommendation consideration, this is where we make an official at this point?
Yes, an official motion to recommend whichever firm you're.
At this point, I would like to make a motion that we reward or recommend rewarding Ameriscape with the contract based on not only price, but also on relationship that we have with them over the past several years, and the fact that they would provide continuity between PPCA and PPAC resources.
Cindy Watterson, I'll second the motion. Sorry.
All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Opposed? Is that good enough, Nathan?
Yes, sir.
All right. Next up for discussion is Villain Trentino Monument request. We did discuss this briefly at our last meeting, and Sherry Brusco did have a design that had been given to her from the landscaper. I did have some concerns with the design that was presented, and she has agreed to rework the design. This monument, I would like for us to go ahead and pay for out of our budget without getting a formal request from a community, because this represents several communities, and I would like those communities to use those for their own monuments and cul-de-sacs and things like that, where this money to me, as you come into Pelican, it's representing not just those communities, but Pelican as well. And it does not look good. The juniper is becoming grossly overgrown, and I'm not a fan of juniper. And I would like to see it redone so it gives a good impression when entering Pelican Preserve.
Question, Vince Pichetto. Are they limited, because it's multiple communities, are they limited to the 2,500, or can we go over?
That monument would be limited to 2,500. But again, I'm proposing we pay for this out of our discretionary budget. So I'm not going to ask a community to come forward to pay for it, which would come out of our budget eventually. Basically, it takes the one community, it does not force one community to take this on.
Cindy Watterson, quick question. What line item does it come out of?
It would come out, I'd have to go look at
Here.
there's it can come out of two. It can come out of R&M, other landscape is the big catch-all, or we could take it out of the plant replacement program, which, again, we have
Plenty.
enough funds to take care of that.
Cindy Watterson making a motion to pay for the Villa Trattina monument out of our budget line items versus the community, the HOA.
And I would like to also add on not to exceed $2,500.
Not to exceed 2,500.
Vince Pichetto seconds it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Community standards impacting district assets. This one I'm not familiar with.
That's something, this Bruce, I brought up. I don't know if you realize the master HOA just implemented a new policy of no, golf cart sales on common areas, etc. Here's a prime example of if you bring that picture back up. There was a golf cart for sale at the corner of Cypress and Pelican Preserve Boulevard. In the past, there might have been some friction with KW acting quickly. I put a call in to KW knowing that this policy had been put into place, and that posting was on that cart within a half an hour of my phone call. Here again, I think the importance of us in adhering to this new policy is the damage it causes if it's a golf cart with an acid battery. What will be next for sale? Will there be cars sitting on the side of the road with for sale signs? Aesthetically, I think it looks bad. I also, for example, I think all these for sale signs don't do much for ingratiating people to our community that are sitting out on tree line, but that's a whole different thing. But my point is the aesthetics of it, the damage that they could be, could be done. I've seen carts there sit for over 24 hours, so it's not a temporary thing. So I think we as committee members, and since we've divided up areas of responsibility, we should be watching out for our own areas, that we don't become an open flea market within Pelican. So that I think is very important, and now that we're getting cooperation from KW, let them enforce the rules for us.
Any further discussion on that?
This is Sherry Briscoe.
Could you
Bruce?
come up to the microphone and speak?
I'm sorry. This is Sherry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Bruce, what about the weekends, having golf carts put on the property? And KW is not there on the weekends or the evenings. Who should we call?
That's a good question. I don't even think KW has an emergency number. The only number I think we have for KW is somebody, the management of flip-flops, I think, or one of these managers. So maybe that's something I could go into KW and address.
The only other thought too, on the golf cart, they should have a registration number. Maybe we could take a picture of it and them in the location that they're at over the weekend. And maybe they could send them just, a letter stating that we're not allowing that.
That's a good,
That might be an option, is what I'm thinking.
yep, no, very valid point. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. I agree in this because there was another one here over the summer that was parked for weeks right behind the gatehouse on Pelican and right where you go into the preserve. And everyone was up in arms about it.
Maxine Hanson, I was just agreeing with her. That was the second golf cart that, because I turned by Villa Trentino, it was directly across the street where everybody stops at a stop sign, the first stop sign into Pelican. It was parked at the, going into the preserve, and it was there for like weeks, and it was for sale.
That is correct. Thank you.
Yeah, Joe?
Is this really a landscape issue, or is this something that should just be passed on to the local?
Well, I think Bruce brought it up as a landscape issue because they are parking on our area and potentially doing damage to those areas.
Sprinkler heads, possibly too.
Yeah.
And what I observed, I saw the couple put the cart there, and there was no regard for the wet grass that was there. And if I hadn't gone back later to check on how it got resolved, I went back there with a rake and try to correct the damage they had done on the wet spot.
Don't we have the same issue with golf carts that are parking around the preserve so people can walk through it? Official parking areas there?
Absolutely, but again, that is not our area of responsibility.
If they park by the road as you're coming in, they park golf carts there to walk down into the preserve, and that is my property.
I've never.
I guess I
seen
haven't
that.
observed that.
I have not seen that. They park
I've seen golf carts parked there.
right off to the right where the road
We did
is.
put in an official
They park
parking
their
area
car.
by the preserve.
There's mesh on the,
Yeah.
there's mesh
Yeah.
on the ground, the grass grows through it,
Mhm.
yeah,
Is that
right by
Yeah.
the birdhouse,
Preserve Boulevard, or is that over?
right by
That's-
the bridge.
That's behind the Brocky Center by the bridge.
People are parking the entrance into the preserve off of Pelican Preserve.
Okay, I guess I haven't observed that, but if they are, I mean, we should report it to KW and they should be given.
Because that should be the same, if a golf cart's going on those properties, not golf carts pulling on some of the benches. Parking. I know you put a parking spot for one on your main big pond you pass at the intersection of Pelican Preserve Boulevard and Cypress Grove, there's a bench. Frequently you see golf carts parked there, and the same for fishermen. They pull off the park. But it's more than just having a for sale sign on it. One thing, now you're getting into other issues. I don't know, I guess if you say that it's on CDD property that's being eased over to PPAC for control, then what you're really saying is you can't park a golf cart on any place, period.
Well, if it, this, Bruce, if it does damage, I know I would personally report it. I mean, the purpose of this committee is to keep the beauty of our development up. I grew up in a big city. I'm used to open markets of cars being, just plopped down anywhere they wanted to with a for sale sign. But we have to look at the damage it incurs. The reason I brought it up is that you might not be aware each member has been assigned a certain section of the common areas to somewhat oversee, find issues that need to be brought up for, different reasons. Here again, it would be part of us doing our job. We are volunteers. We're not a police force. I spent 30 years on the police department. I gave that up. I'm not here to rat out my neighbors, but at the same time, my neighbors have to respect my feelings too, as along with, I'm sure, many others, okay?
Bruce, you take a lawnmower, they're heavy as a golf cart, they're running over the grass all the time.
And as, if you have attended these meetings, you would have heard me go after Javier. I've had sod replaced against his better wishes when he claims, how did we know they did the damage? And I had pictures of their mowers doing the damage. So I'm doing my job. I ask all my fellow residents to do their job in keeping up the appearance of our community. That was the whole point of what I wanted to bring up.
I would suggest then that you've made your statements here and that should go now back their action.
I agree, and it was at their last board meeting, I think in December or maybe even November. That's how I got wind of their change in policy, that they would notify the owners, and I tested it.
Well, that's PPAC, not a PPAC,
Oh.
is a CDD. You
Okay.
might be saying that PPCA made a change.
Yes,
Community Association
yes, I'm sorry.
made some announcement to that.
They did, in a meeting, that's how I got wind of it.
Bob Gephardt?
Mark, just as a reminder, if the audience is talking, they need to be up the microphone since we don't have the area mic.
All right. We got a request from a villa to redo their monuments. Now, as part of their request, I have a question for Daniel. They want to put an electrical outlet on the monuments. Do we have them do that, or do we do that?
For what purpose?
I assume lights or something. I don't know. They've just requested to add lighting or outlets to the, which they've only requested $900 to do the landscaping and add outlets to both monuments. If they can do that, we need to find this vendor. And
Daniel Potter, Public Works Director. As long as they have a certified electrician
and they say
and
he is.
licensed, I'm completely
Okay.
fine with them.
So they have only asked for $900 to redo both monuments. And I think that's great, if they can do it for $900. So I would like to make a motion, and we do have the money in the budget.
Who pays the monthly? This is Ed Hedges, PPAC. We've gone through all the electrical stuff, a lot of these, and we found some places where the CDD was paying for the electricity for certain cul-de-sacs, one on Brino and that, and we basically said, neighborhood association, you have to take that over. It's not providing, the electricity is being provided for the HOA benefit, not CDD benefit. Other neighborhoods have actually installed their own electric meter to provide lighting and stuff in the cul-de-sac. So you're kind of getting into a gray area. I know it's kind of insignificant. It might be for the monument for holiday electric lights or whatever, to light the wreaths or whatever, but you're probably getting into a gray area.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so it's,
Yeah.
So at this point, to be consistent, we do not allow private entities, which we would consider an HOA to be a private entity, to tap into our electrical system. So at this point, I would approve the landscaping part, but deny their ability to add outlets because they would be adding outlets onto our system. Is that,
That sounds right.
Bob has a,
Bob Gephardt, as a resident of Monticello, I wouldn't want to restrict them from doing it. It's just the willingness, if they pay the bill, if they put the meter in for whatever they want and they pay the bill, then you're absolutely fine.
again, I think I used to work for a power company. I think it's going to be cost prohibitive for
Absolutely.
a little outlet.
That's what Breno
to
got
put
at.
in
And by the way, all of our holiday lightings are battery
Right.
on the monuments, so they're not
Right.
in there. Okay.
So I would like to approve up to $900, but I will let them know that at this time, they cannot add their own electrical outlets onto our facilities.
I'll second.
All in
Susan
favor, say aye.
Atkinson, sorry.
Aye.
Opposed? Pelican Preserve Entrance Sign Project.
Well, this is Bruce. I think we could expedite this one. Originally, we spoke about finding a vendor to look into painting the center portion of the monuments in the front. And unless you have a difference of opinion, I think it's grown on me what it looks like now. Over time, I've seen it at night with the lights, during the day in the sunshine, during the day in the rain. I think we should leave well enough alone. It really, in my opinion, doesn't look that bad. I'm also the one who brought it up, thinking we could find a resolution of painting the tile. I think in time it may cause us a bigger headache. It really doesn't look that bad, in my opinion, and this is solely my opinion, that we save the money. I believe it's going to be 2,000 plus, and I think this issue should be dead in my mind.
Cindy Watterson.
Oh, it's even more.
I agree. I think we should leave the travertine stone as is. In a couple of years, we're going to be painting it. And it's gonna be probably what we want to have, so I'm in agreement with that
Yeah,
as well.
and I had seen the estimates, and I, again, have all this time on my hands. So I went into different stores, the Sherwin-Williams, and everybody thought I was nuts to attempt it. Because the bottom line was they felt in years you'd have to do it again, as good as the quality of the job. So, and it really doesn't look that bad now that I've seen it. So I think it presents the entrance well, and let's just leave well enough alone.
I agree.
Any further discussion on that?
No, but as a side note, there are some lighting issues that I'm working through up there around that entrance. Everything is lit except for two lights, and of course, they're the ones that really directly shine onto the Pelican Preserve insignia there at the entryway. An electrician has been notified, and we're working with them to try to get those lights back up. So just
Thank you.
everybody's awareness that that's happening on the other side of the house.
Quick question, Vince Pagetto, about the two little ponds that have the upright fountains. I know we put new pumps in. The one on the right, the water's this high. The one on the left, the water's much lower again.
Hans is aware of that and has put in a request to get that corrected.
Okay,
They're having an issue with one of the pumps.
now I can sleep.
All right. Moving along, damage to monument landscaping, Prado Pistoia.
This is Bruce again. I submitted this. Here again, just having all this idle time to myself. I got on my golf cart because I couldn't fit in my car. And as you could see from the picture, what had happened, I was familiarizing myself with the area that I was assigned. I went down into Pistoia, just driving around, and saw a mess at the very end of Pistoia. I got out to take that picture. A homeowner came out whose house sits opposite it and told me the story. There was a new resident moving in. The moving van needed to go around the monument to get out and took half the monument out. That was just one example. It led terrible, tread marks into the monument. I went back a week later with Fabian to show him, to get an idea of an estimate of what it would take just to clean it up, not do major replanting. And the whole Pistoia subdivision had been mulched that week in between me seeing it. It really didn't look that bad, but there's still need for plants there. Some foxtails were destroyed. Here again, Mark, I don't even know the name of that plant that was destroyed. It would be minimal, so I thought, just being a committee that does have the best interest of our community. I don't know the homeowner whose moving van it was. The guy who spoke to me couldn't single out the home it came from. So there's no one we could turn around to and say, you got to make good on this. So I think we should consider getting an estimate for this, which I thought might have been done by this point after speaking with Ameriscape. I just look for approval to get the work done.
This is Mark. I went out and looked at it yesterday. Well, and it brings in another issue I want to talk about. A homeowner put in C-Click Fix that this had happened. And C-Click Fix, somebody responded day before yesterday and said, contact Ameriscape. They do the landscaping. My concern is that wasn't the issue as to why it was put in. The issue was United Van Lines ran over the landscaping and not how do we go about getting it repaired. So I went ahead and I sent an email to United Van Lines yesterday. I'll see what they say. It was a false agave with the other plants around it. I'm guessing $300.
Maybe.
Will,
Yeah.
no, I'm
Yeah.
pretty confident for $300 we can make it look pretty again. So at this point, I'm waiting to see how United Van Line responds to damage that one of their drivers did. I told them the date, I told them the location, so I think they will recognize that it was one of theirs. And now I asked them what their policy is regarding repairing this damage. So I'm waiting to hear back from them. I got the cursory, yes, we got your request, and we will respond to it later. So this is being addressed. When I went there, I expected worse based on some of the emails, and it's like, wow, you can't even tell where it was.
Yeah.
There's a plant missing, obviously, but the mulching definitely helped.
Oh, big time.
So
Big time.
we're working on that one. Christmas light decor, 2020. Yep.
Daniel, what is the policy of the district, like when we damage the guardhouse? That's something that the district staff should be notifying, right?
Sorry.
If someone damages the overpass of the guardhouse, don't we seek or remuneration?
Yes,
Would this be any different?
as long as you can prove it.
Well,
As
pretty
long
obvious.
as long as there's somebody that,
If they contest it, that's a different issue.
I
but
mean, I would pick your battles on dollar signs. Obviously, the building structural damage versus a few plants.
Well, I'm agreeing in the scope of,
Yes, I agree with you.
but
It's-
nevertheless, something that came out on the letterhead of the district would have more merit. Not to say they won't do it for you, but that ought to be automatic over here.
Okay.
I would like to see how they respond.
Yep.
And not to be critical of the district, but I don't want to spend money with the district if I can get it taken care of with an email on my part.
Absolutely, I totally agree. However, you want to set the precedent that the burden is over here.
And I do understand that, and if
Okay.
it had been significant dollars, I would have gone that route.
Hopefully United's going to step up and do it.
Yeah, hopefully they will. We'll
But
see.
I didn't hear anything over here that said we had ownership, and they do.
Yeah. Again, I was disappointed with the response out of C-Click Fix that go talk to your landscaper.
Well, that's the other one. Secret, they should have responded better to call Ameriscape.
Yeah. So this was actually a directive put out by you, Mark, for me to redirect them immediately to Ameriscape for landscaping in previous meetings for
Well, you
landscaping
have-
items.
You have given them to me before.
Oh, you get them as well.
I
So
did not see this one at all.
okay, yeah. The email, as soon as it comes through, if anybody responds to it for C-Click Fix, you're on that traffic.
I wasn't on this one.
Okay.
The only reason I
It'll go to
found
your
out about
district
this
email.
one was, the homeowner, when she got the response back from C-Click Fix, said, I don't understand.
Yeah,
what
and
they're
the
doing."
reasoning behind why we made that decision in the past, I've slept since then, but the reason why we redirected them was because we didn't want to put you into another, basically another cog in the wheel when you were going to go and submit the ticket to Ameriscape right after for landscaping issues that were of this small nature, so that they could directly interact with that. And then Ameriscape would do the QA/QC of whether or not something that's actually inside of the contract for them to do. And you would see it on their reporting when it
Right.
came back.
And I agree with that. But in this case, I was not notified at any point until the homeowner sent me a copy of what they got back from C-Click Fix.
Okay, well, anything that was coming through C-Click Fix went to the landscaping chair email as an automation.
I'll send it to you. I still have it.
Okay.
Anyway, all right.
And here again, this, Bruce, I know the homeowner who brought it to my attention. I asked him if he would go on record. He said he'd prefer not to. But I think if we need a witness, I could pressure him into giving it up. Because he ran at me when he saw me out there taking the picture. He said, "Oh, are you with the landscape? Can you help me with this?" And I said, "Yeah, and tell me what the problem is." So I do know who it is. So if it's a matter, Mark, that United Van Line needs some first accounting of it, I'm sure I could get it for you.
All right. Christmas light decor 2025.
This is my first time, Cindy Watterson. We had some small issues, not what I expected it to be. I expected a lot more issues. I was not aware that Trentino does their own bridge. Maxine brought that to my attention. So we removed all of the vendor lighting and everything off of their bridge for them. Toscano utilized our vendors' extension cords for their own lights, so we had to replace that and put more out there. The timers in the front area were shut off by somebody. Luckily, when we caught this, I'd say every 3 days I would go on a ride in the whole community to check these. We initially had electrical issues with Bentley. Really stepped it up, came in, fixed everything. Great. I've gone over, I've met with the vendor for some inconsistencies.
Cindy, Sherry's asking you to speak up.
I'm sorry.
She can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I'm on.
Probably.
Yes, much better. Thank you.
Okay, so I met with the vendor recently to go over what we had done because the contract automatically renews from March 1st if we do not discuss. So I met with him for some things that I want to change off of the initial contract. He's totally in agreement. We had some problems with their battery lit lights on the one bridge. And I did want to ask that question on the bridge. There is an electrical box, but there is no, it must feed into something else on the Pelican Reserve Bridge. There's no outlet. Is that a possibility to put an outlet in that existing?
I'd have to take a look at it.
Could we?
Yeah, we
Go
can take a
put
look
that
at it.
on the list?
Yeah.
Because we ran into the battery-powered lights were the worst on that bridge. They kept going out. And he kept replacing. Very good response times. We ran out of bows, so I was making bows for the community. So next year we won't have that problem. We are going to change a little bit because I saw inconsistency on the monuments. I want consistency. 2 bows on every monument. Not one on some, 2 on another. To me, that just stood out, and it's a very small thing. They did go above and beyond on some of the issues, which was great. We are going to change the contract according to my conversation with him. So for my question, do I need to retype this to send this to Gateway? A modified?
Right here. Is it already on what you're seeing on the screen?
No, that's the one from 24. Do you need a modified one for 25?
Yes.
The amount is not changing.
I'll need an amendment.
Okay. All right.
Even if it's just to capture the amendment for official record keeping, so I'll be able to hold them to that contract stipulations.
Yep. They are
Cindy,
looking.
this is Sherry.
Yes.
Hi. I went through the front area. I noticed that the bows were different. There was some of them that sparkled. There were some that were plain velvet red. Is there any way that we could put in the contract that they need to all be the same and
Yes.
not the bright red sparkled ones that look really, really cheap?
Yes, they ran out. I think we ran into a problem where they were pushed on their schedule and used them for another community. That has already been addressed, and it is one of the items on the new contract.
Okay. And a second question is can we see if they can have brighter lights on the monuments? They were so dim in yellow. It was really hard to see the lights on the garland.
That's our only option. That
Okay.
is our only option.
So
there's outlets on every monument.
Unless you put an outlet for CBD use.
My only, because they could get bright white lights, because the lights that they were using were like a dim lights.
All the lights
Um,
warm.
Okay. I noticed that the garland on the bridge on Pelican Preserve Boulevard, none of them were fluffed up. They look like they just threw them up there.
Okay, we didn't have garland on the rails. We had swags hanging on the pillars.
Yes, and that's the ones I'm referring to.
Okay.
Okay. There needs to be a quality check. I mean, it's $25,000. I expect it to be beautiful. And to me, it looked a little hodgepodged. And there was no quality check there in my eyes as,
Okay.
an owner. Um, I'm trying to think what else, I went through. I think everything else was good. The lights through all the monuments, as soon as they were out, they were there checking on them and replaced the batteries. So, those were the only couple things that I had. The only other thing, when they do the lights and they wrap them, with garland, is there any way we can light the ones up around the gatehouse and also put a bow on the top of them? They
Put-
just looked silly because they just put garland up. There was no lights, there was no bow, but just garland. And on a black lamp post, it just, you know,
each lamppost that had garland did have a bow, but they do not put lighted garland on the lampposts. We're going to change that next year because I think it's an incredible waste of money to
Yeah.
put garland on. They're using a lift to do it. Instead, we're looking to do some different lighting because once you come through that gate, for whatever reason, our streetlights are out. And they've been
yes.
for 6 months or a year, from there all the way down. So you come through this beautiful lit gate and then it's dark.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to incorporate, and that was a question I had, do any of our medians have electric?
They should not.
Okay. Because that's what we're running into. We'd like to light some things up, but they're having incredible problems with the battery pack lights.
Okay.
So they went to a conference in Atlanta last week to talk with the vendor. They're trying to look at what possibly can be done, but the lights that are on the garland are not wrapped. These come from a warehouse with the lights already on them. So there's no
Okay.
changing out the lights on the garland. First year of us lighting the monuments, I thought that it looked good. At least there was something lit. Agreed they'd be nicer if they were brighter, but I don't think we have the option for that.
Okay.
But we are going to take and only do the light poles with garland before you hit the gate. And
Okay.
then as you hit the gate, that money's going to be spent on more lighting for that first section that's never lit up.
Got it.
Going
Do
to-
we know why we don't have lights on Pelican Preserve, street lights?
I was bringing that up to whoever.
Good. Sorry.
So Daniel Potter, they're breaking faster than I can get them fixed. I have an electrician that might as well set up a residency on Pelican Preserve Boulevard because as soon as he can get them fixed, they last for about a day and then I have to bring them right back out. So we're running into a lot of issues because those lights are at the end of their useful life. Just at that point now where we need to start looking from the safety security side of the house on, and I'm sure Ed can speak to this, the FPL lighting to replace.
Definitely a
Yeah.
security issue
Yes.
because you're walking through an area that's
It,
totally
it's
dark.
known and I'm well aware of it and I'm continuously actioning those items for the light poles, but I honestly have been having more headaches with it. They break faster than I can honestly get them repaired.
Yeah, this is the safety and security we are working with, and PPAC are working with Florida Power and Light on a proposal to convert all of the gateway-owned lights on the boulevards to FPL decorative lighting. That probably won't occur until sometime the summer of '26, according to their schedule, if we sign a contract fairly soon. So all those, we'll have to fight these issues with the lighting, but the electrical system that feeds those lights is old and corroding and falling apart, basically. And all those lights are 220 volt, so they're not compatible with decorative 110 volt lighting and stuff anyway. So you couldn't really use those light poles as an electrical source for decorative lighting, so.
Now, is this the same problem that's tied into when you come in Colonial onto Tree Line, both monuments, the lights are out? Not my Christmas lights, the lights are out.
Would be a
Correct.
different issue.
That's a different one.
Okay, and in this committee, do I talk to someone else? I know it's not my zone, but it
That
drives
one's
me
also,
crazy.
also on our list, working through that as well with the electrician.
And what's the
Yeah,
electric?
We're just having to pull a new line through there, just it's too old. So new line put in, and then reset the lights.
Yeah, we have these beautiful monuments, trees, everything.
Don't go
and-
stand on top of the monument because they're not so beautiful inside.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But those ponds are for the fountain itself that we're no longer paying to use, have algae galore built up in them. They're
Those monuments and the lighting would be the landscape committee's responsibility.
Okay.
Just so you're aware, the district is, we do have getting estimates of what the value of that property is, because the district is looking at potentially selling those two parcels that those monuments sit on.
At the corner of Tree Line and,
Colonial.
Yep.
So
Was it-
is there any way we could put in solar lights for now and not do the expense of the wiring and all that? I mean, I just hate to see that we're going to wait months and months and months for a decision whether they're going to sell it or not, and our front monument lights are not on.
yeah,
What other options can we look at
I'm
to
with
get
Sherry. I'm
lights
working
up
with
there?
the electrician to get the lights fixed there.
Okay,
Solar panel powered lights are not powerful enough to really light that monument.
Yep.
And I would highly suggest against wasting the money on them.
okay. So we're going to make that a priority to get the lights working out there?
Yeah, they're on my priority list.
Okay, great, thank you.
Ed, with what you're working on with Power and Light, you mentioned what we currently have is 220. Is the new one going to be compatible with 120 to have a receptacle at the bottom of the light pole, possibly?
Those will be Florida Power and Light owned lights.
I understand that. I used to work for utility, and you could get a
Oh, I know.
receptacle at the bottom of them.
I don't know if
Okay.
they allow that.
Okay.
We
just-
can ask
Well, that
them.
was actually provided by the utility, though.
Yeah.
Okay, just a question that.
Well, that's a good idea.
Lighting going forward.
Correct. So it was brought to my attention as well, for the monument lighting, our normal monument lighting is drowning out the garland that's lit and put on top. So suggestion was made to put some cellophane covers on that to tone them down, to make them pop more on the top of the monuments. Now, I know Bellagio does it, but I'm not sure, is that something that I'm allowed to go do?
Bellagio does it, and I've actually gotten complaints about it.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
it's the color.
Yeah.
Like if you
Yeah.
toned it down and you could keep it white,
yeah.
I
it
think
would
you'd be fine. Like maybe there's a cap you could put.
I think you have to put like,
I don't know what the
like a little
fixture
cover.
looks.
Yeah, they're square. You just would have to put
So
like
like
a,
if there was one that was like
hair bonnet
frosted
or
glass
something
or
on it.
something
So-
like that, that would.
You're looking at
This-
this during the.
This is Sherry.
Yes.
Aren't we changing those lights out to LED?
Yes,
Most of them have been changed out.
yes.
It might be why they're so much brighter.
yeah.
Excuse me, I've got to run. I'm going to leave this in Nathan's capable hands
Okay.
here to finish out the meeting. They got a safety and security meeting that I got to run all the way to Pelican for. So
Okay.
Is the electrician you use in Bentley?
yes, correct.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thanks. So with the changes, we're going to put forth a new amendment to the current contract. The money's not changing. we're just taking some of the lights that weren't used, trying to move them around on the boulevard to light it up a little bit more once you enter the gate.
And I think that sounds good, and all the contracts should have to go through Randy and Daniel.
Randy, CC, myself, and Daniel.
Okay.
And I would like to commend Cindy for all the work she has done on
Yes.
this.
Oh,
And
thanks.
it's much better than what it used to be.
Thank you.
She's put a lot of time.
Nice job.
Thanks.
Great job.
So are we okay to move forward? Do we need a motion to?
I would like to
approve?
make a motion to move forward with Cindy's recommendation for the lighting contract for next year.
A second, Susan Atkinson.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So if you'll just forward that on to
Yep.
Nathan.
That'll be in the minutes, and I'll put Randy on notice for that. He'll write up the notice proceed to continue that contract.
All right.
Okay.
Next on the agenda is new plants and sod, and almost all of these are replacing plants that we have lost over the past few years. And I can run through this list and just let you know what I want to put in and approximately give you an idea of where. If anybody has any questions, then stop me and we can discuss it, but I don't want to vote on each one in particular. So if we could just do this as a grouping. The first one, I must tell everyone I went to Naples Botanical Garden again, so I
Uh-oh.
always get new
Uh-oh.
ideas, so.
That's
Uh,
trouble.
The first one is to replace a palm tree that we had on Pelican Preserve Boulevard. And we lost a flamethrower palm, if that means anything. And I would like to try a wine palm, has a very unique shape, is not a large palm. And these are all commercially available. I've already gotten pricing on them, so I would like to put in a wine palm there. On Cypress Grove, close to Julia in Median, we lost a tree out there. And I would like to put in a bridal veil tree, good bark, good color. I think we'll be happy with that. On Pond 36, years ago, a tree was lost there, never replaced. So there's a pretty wide gap in the foliage. I would like to try a bayrum tree. Again, good bark, nice tree, should do well. On Veneto Drive, right after you turn the corner, we planted 3 rainbow eucalyptus. The one in the middle snapped off. I was in hopes it would resprout. I'm not having luck with that. So we need to replace that. And I'm going to replace it with I would like to replace it with a tree called a violet tree. I saw it in Naples Botanical Garden. Really good color in the fall. And I think it'll just give us a nice change in that area. Over towards Ravenna, next to the conservation palm, we had a gumbo limbo that we had planted snap off. It's not resprouting, so I would like to replace that. In the median on Prado, we lost some jatropha, tree-form jatropha. I would like to replace some of those. We also lost 5 chenille plants. Chenille is not a plant we've used elsewhere in the community, but it's related to copperleaf. It should do fine. So I would like to try and replace those. I'm not trying to go after warranty on these because all they do is go, oh, the hurricane did it, which I could argue with some of that, but I'm not wanting to go down that path at this time. 6 plumbago, 3 out front where we had some, we lost 3. We also lost 3 on a bed in Cypress Grove. Gold mound out front, I want to give those one last try. Some have been successful. They were too wet for a while. I'm hoping that we have remedied that. We lost 1 rainbow copperleaf out front, replaced that. That was the area that Vince did coming into the gate on tree line. I had 5 3-gallon Sanchesia planted and the rabbits mowed them down. So I would like to put in 5 7-gallon Sanchesia. It seems when you get into the 7-gallon, the rabbits don't bother them. And I'd really like to start using more Sanchesia in the community for aesthetics. 5 firebush. I've never lost firebush to rabbits before, but down on Valentino and Pelican Preserve Boulevard, kind of a homeowner situation, but it is our responsibility. We planted a new fire bush and the rabbits mowed them down. So I'd like to put in 5 7-gallon fire bush, which again, the rabbits should leave those alone. One other area is we lost one Panama rose along Pelican Preserve Boulevard in a grouping. I'd like to replace that. Bruce brought up area of bad sod close to the Prado Matarita stop sign. I got a quote on that. It's about a half a pallet just to refurbish that area. And then along the fence, as you come into Pelican Preserve Boulevard, I'm looking more over at Sienna. The fence doesn't look the best in those areas. And I took a blue sky vine out of my yard and put it on the fence, and it seems to be doing well. And I would like to put 2 more on that fence. They will run 200 feet. I mean, they will cover the
Where's
fence.
that, Mark?
As you're coming into Pelican Preserve Boulevard before you get to the gatehouse. On the
Okay.
right side is Sienna, and there's a fence there.
Okay.
And I would just like to put some vines on there to give it some color and also some screening, make it look a little better. I'm gonna try 2 there, and if they do well, I would consider the other side of the road as well, just to
What
give
are
us a
they
little-
called?
Blue sky vine.
Blue sky.
We have planted those on the pergolas,
Oh, okay.
as well as some blue queen's wreath. And they are doing pretty well, where we're going to have to get those trained up onto the pergolas soon. We can do that for a cost not to exceed $6,000. Does anybody have any questions on that? I have not gotten an official quote, but I can do this for under $6,000.
You're asking for a motion?
I'm asking
Yeah.
for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve your plan to replace plants that are.
Vince Pagetto will second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. The next item on the agenda is bald cypress. I talked to the ponds committee and I asked if they had any concerns with us planting bald cypress on some of the ponds that could use a little help. Again, technically it's ponds, but we're kind of seen as the plant people, where they even thought about maybe we should take over the littorals, and I'm not going there at this time. But I do agree that it was my idea that we should consider some bald cypress on some of our ponds. They're native species. They're the plants that give you the knees that you see. If you go to 6 Mile Cypress, there's several in there. They asked that we try just a couple ponds to start off with, and they suggested pond 47, which is kind of a barren pond that we've had issues getting stuff to grow. That's over on Cypress Grove. And I would put 6 on that pond on the corners. I'm not going behind anybody's house because
My wife would hope you did that.
I will not plant behind somebody's house in case they don't care for that. But again, this is just more of a trial. So I would put 3 on each corner of pond 47 and 6 Mile Cypress. We need for them to do pond bank remediation before we do that. Let me finish and I'll get to it. And so I would look at us paying for that. And on pond 20, which if you're going down Pelican Preserve Boulevard, the first pond to the right after you get through the 4-way stop is pond 20. And I picked that one because it's very
That's where the
visible.
bench is, right?
A lot of people are going to see it. And I think it would just add a little bit of interest to that pond in the one corner. Anyway, I don't want to do it right now because they have to do the pond restoration on 47, but I just wanted to put it out there in front of this group. The trees are about $450 a piece. And
It's my understanding,
they would be in the bank that will be covered by water in the summer, but it would be exposed now. And I would like to get it done before summer so they're not planting in the water.
is Ponds working on 47 now? Because it was, maybe I've misunderstood. On 47?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
How do you know what pond number
They're marked.
Signs.
Well, a couple of my ponds used to have the sticks coming out of the water with the little pond number, and they're gone. So I mean, if I look on this map, can I find them?
Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
good.
they're on the
I just
maps.
wanted to know.
Marty, you had a,
Does this impact any lake maintenance easement?
to my
Because
understanding,
In the
no.
water, no.
We are allowed to
Gateway
plant,
right now is having an issue where they're clear cutting trees around some of the.
In the water, no, that's why I asked.
this is,
In the
this
water,
is,
no.
considered littoral area. It's actually in the pond bank that is covered with water at times. Any questions?
I do.
Yeah.
This is Bruce. Regarding new plantings and going back to Ameriscape and the time I spent with Fabian Jr., I had put a ticket in asking where we stood with, and I just realized I did get a response from them on January 7th that the area in question, right near that Bismarck along Prado, not far from that location of the sodding, they clearly state that Fabian Jr. included the Calusa on the proposal, and they're warranted. So
Okay.
I don't know where that email or proposal is missing, but they owe us some plans. So
Okay.
I don't want that forgotten, and I won't allow them to forget it.
I know you.
Now that I have it in writing, and I thought Fabian was my friend, but obviously he's not. So I just want to bring that up. If I don't see any action by the next meeting, I'll report that, and we'll go after him accordingly.
Or you can just add to that ticket,
True, true.
and they do respond to that.
No, they're very good with responding to their tickets. So just wanted to bring that up since we were on new plantings.
That brings us to the end of our current agenda. Does
Did you vote on
anyone,
the Cypress?
We're not voting yet.
what's that?
On the
Did you vote
Cypress.
on the Cypress?
Did you want to vote on the pond 20?
Well, we could go ahead and vote on it now. I'm looking at adding 9 cypress for a cost not to exceed $5,000, where 3 would go on pond 20 and 6 would go on pond 47 after the bank restoration is done.
Do you want to hold off on the vote for 47 until after the maintenance?
We can go ahead.
Just because it could, I don't, okay,
It'll-
that's fine.
I would like to make a motion to approve not to exceed $5,000.
I second it. Vince Macheto.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Since I do have approval, I may request that they go ahead with pond 20. Obviously, the water's not going to get any lower for them to plant than it is now, so if we can get that one done, we will.
Cindy Watterson, unrelated, before you go to the next, is there a place we can find the map of the zones that Sherry did? I can't find it anywhere, and I really like a copy in my zone.
Could it be attached to the minutes from the last meeting?
Was that sent to Daniel? Do you know? I'm not in the loop on that
I
one.
don't know, Sherry was handling that.
Yeah.
Sherry, did you send a copy of that to Daniel?
I might have, but I can resend it.
Okay.
It wasn't in the minutes.
Yeah, I'll
It
attach
should
it to the
be,
minutes.
yeah.
Sherry, if you could just send that to me,
Sure.
Daniel?
That'd be great.
It'll be attached to today's minutes, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Maxine?
Before you close, I'd like to ask a question. Florida Power and Light electrical boxes are scattered throughout Pelican, and they're very unsightly. They're rusted. Sometimes you can't read the numbers. Trentino Estates, we called Florida Power and Light, asked them to refurbish the boxes. We had 5 of them on our block. They told us at $100 a piece, they would come out and paint them. Well, they're throughout the community. There's some on Pelican Preserve Boulevard. As you approach the clubhouse, there's a huge one. They're just awful. Can we, do you have any poll? You said you used to work for Florida Power and Light.
No, not Power. I worked in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay. I mean, who do we contact? Or what can we do about this?
Well,
Feedback did that a couple years ago, and they was told basically that we aren't allowed to touch them, and if we want to pay them to do it, then we consider it. Issue was dropped.
They're beyond repainting. They're just rusting out.
I approached Florida Power and Light personally and just said, this one on the corner of Cypress and Pelican Preserve Boulevard is rusting out. Where I came from, if we had one like that, it would be out of there in a heartbeat, but they just kind of said, we don't think it's that bad. And we'll take care of it if it is.
It looks so nice, and then you drive down and you see these, and I'm sure they're in every community, you know, in the different subdivisions inside Pelican.
Are there requirements about landscaping around these boxes, or do you have to have a distance, or? Yeah,
You need
okay,
to
so
get
that makes them more
You put it in,
conspicuous.
but they take it out.
They're typically what happens on that is if you plant in front of them, they won't do anything unless they get into work on the box. And I don't blame them. I mean, they mow everything down that's in their way and do the work. But it could be there for 20 years before. So all I would say is if you plant in front of them, you better be very careful when digging, obviously, because, but
I don't
we
plan
have
to, I just
planted
wondered.
in front of them. Some of the HOAs have planted in front of them. And whenever that transformer gets replaced, it's just mowed down, which I don't have a problem with. I just want the power back on when.
Yeah.
So that is something for us to consider. But obviously it would have to be light,
Like a
easily-
grass or something like that.
grasses,
that could
smaller
be-
bushes, nothing substantial.
Yeah.
And I told you I had a lot of idle time, so I came across a few more items.
We gotta find you a job.
Yeah, exactly.
In a month, I'll be back,
I'm just kidding.
I'll be at spring training, so I'll be there. We, at the four-way stop going into town center, I don't know if anybody noticed, they did a great job with removing the staining, but it's coming back to one of the monuments on the southwest corner. You're staining on one
I
side,
noticed
so
that.
I don't know what's causing it.
I didn't know if that was new or if that. had
That's
been-
new.
It's new.
Because I actually observed them doing it, and they did a great job, but it's coming back.
It's
so-
moving through.
But and looking at that location, I know Vince is kind of spearheading this, but I think it's starting to look unsightly in the pot. It looks like we're growing light fixtures at the monuments.
Yes.
We got to
I
get
noticed
those
that, too.
lowered. I mean, I observe Facebook. I don't add to it much, but, and I think we need to say something, I do, but nobody's complained, but I'm waiting for somebody to bitch about it.
I think it's the
They-
drip system, isn't it, that's sticking up?
That too,
The
the
drip
drip
system,
line on
yeah, it
one
needs to
side,
be
but the
But
lights
if
are,
glass.
but if we have the drip sprinklers there, then why is the
Wonder if we have
wall staining?
just one sprinkler head that needs to be
Right.
changed.
it could be something simple, yeah. So I noticed that.
Put in a ticket.
Yeah.
Seriously, put in a ticket to Ameriscape and just say it appears that one sprinkler is hitting the monument and we need that adjusted.
Okay.
They should take care
I'll
of it.
take care of that today. And one last thing, I don't know if it was Chelsea or Laura, about 2 meetings, probably even longer, made mention that we as a committee, if annuals weren't being planted in the monuments, we needed to advise her. Here again, with me riding around, I found quite a few. I don't know if we're getting charged, but, like in Casella, for argument's sake, I didn't know, I thought that was part of my area, so I went in there. They have 3 monuments and, or 4 monuments of 3 get no annuals. So are we getting charged for that? Pistoia, Prado have 7 monuments, 6 of them get no annuals. So I think once we figure out for sure what our areas of responsibility are, we need to come up with a list, I guess, cross-reference it to what the billings are, because we might be getting charged for plantings we're not getting.
Quite truthfully, annuals have been kind of a moving target because we eliminated them from
Places.
some areas. We've added a little bit more in some other areas, but their numbers don't change as far as the contract number, what we pay for them. So I don't know if anybody's actually keeping track of them or not. Because somebody came up with a number to start billing on the contract. I don't know what that was based on, but we're not there anymore, but yet those numbers.
Well, how does Ameriscape take instruction as to which monuments to plant annuals and which
They've
ones
been
not?
told to plant everything except for inside the monuments at the four-way stop, Solero, and there's one other one, I can't remember off the top of my head. They were told, you don't plant those.
And everything else you do.
Everything else they're supposed to plant, but as to what is everything else?
So when you go into the contract negotiation, we can specify that and make sure that's outlined, the proper number.
Like put it on a map or something.
Because
so
each
it's-
monument should have a number.
Correct.
Which it does.
It can be identified that way, yeah.
Yeah, every monument does have a
That would be
number.
helpful to us too, so that we can check to see if.
And just to give you an idea, my rough estimate, there's supposedly 36 monuments. A third of them have no plantings, of the ones I observed. I
Interesting.
observed 11 without, so roughly a third. And that was just from the corner of Cypress all the way back to, Prado, Pistoia, Matarita, anything in that ballpark. So there's quite a few.
While we're talking about the annuals, the December planting was done right around Thanksgiving, a little bit after
A little bit
Thanksgiving.
after.
And, as well, they look great now. For Christmas, they look like we had no plants.
It was cold though. I felt like the weather wasn't helping.
I think that we could maybe look at it, could we adjust that back
A little bit, yeah.
just a couple weeks so that,
We could look, it's in the contract as
Yeah.
to when they're supposed to plant.
Right, and again, that could be negotiated during the contract, yes.
And I don't think the contractor will have issue changing that a little bit.
Usually they don't, as long as you give them enough heads up, because they have to
Right.
order ahead of
Right.
schedule and stuff.
Right.
Yep.
There was some on Facebook about the fact that the flowers weren't.
Perfect.
no, they weren't even open.
They just
They weren't even
it
open. There
had
was
been
no
cold,
color.
and they may have been planted in previous years at the same time and have been fine for the holidays, but this year in particular.
We,
I don't think it was the cold, I think it was the size of the plant.
we can look into.
Yeah, Cindy, I agree with you. There was no need for them to be planted so late in the season. They should have been planted well before the holiday season.
And again, the planting times are outlined in the contract.
Yep.
Now, this is a goofy question, but are
Are you gonna
impatiens available
Yeah.
earlier?
We'll be doing it
They're
as a
all-
group.
I mean, they're getting them from, I don't know where they're getting them from, up north, down here, but are they available 3 weeks, a month sooner?
I know in
So I would,
the Greater Gateway, we planted ours the last week of November, but we adjusted our schedule. It was supposed to be in October for the December, or for the winter timeframe. So we typically do it in the late October timeframe for the winter.
So maybe we can.
And then
have
you
Frank-
replant
Eh.
in January, February.
Usually late February. This year we're gonna adjust it to late February because we're kind of off schedule because we had some issues last summer during the rainy season.
You know if they
So-
plant,
this is Sherry. Why did you delay it from October to November?
We had some planting issues over last summer. They planted a plant that didn't weather too well in the rainy season, so we had to adjust our planting schedule based off of that due to some issues we had with them thriving.
Okay. And who has oversight over that?
The
Like,
Greater
is it-
Gateway planting is myself. I oversee the landscaping contract.
Okay. And do you physically go out to inspect it to make sure they're planting in the time that they had agreed to in the contract?
I usually take pictures at least once a week, just to cover my own self.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
did they plant impatiens?
For the winter, it was, yes.
Okay. Because we did put in the contract going forward where we're specifying what colors we want to
Yeah,
see
for the
what
holidays.
season.
Yeah.
And in order to get the red and white for the Christmas holidays, the sun impatiens give you that best.
Yeah. So typically, I ask the vendor to provide the information of what they're getting, when they're planning on doing it, so I can put it out to the board and stuff. So they usually know, about at least a month in advance of what they're getting. They can give that information to you guys.
This is Sherry again. Not this one, but the last planting. They ended up planting the plants in the wrong height. Which the ones in the front grew higher than the ones in the middle. So who has oversight on that piece of it?
I was given the plan. I said, looks good. They planted them, and I said, what you said, not the right order.
Right.
And they supposedly went back to the contractor who actually put them in and were told that they would end up correct. And obviously, they were not that accurate.
And hopefully with the zones this year, it'll be
So-
better.
So is that something that, since they didn't come back and change it, do we have to pay full price for it?
We did.
But in our new contract, is there something that prevents that type of error?
If we call them on it quickly enough, they will
Okay.
react.
The early
Because
identification is key, yeah.
They have changed things before where I've notified them that they were doing something wrong.
And that'll be important for the zones to identify early.
Once we get our maps.
Right.
I just sent the maps in.
Thank you, Sherry.
I don't know if I have your email address, but I sent it to Georgia,
I just
Daniel,
put it in the
and
chat room.
most of the committee members that I know that are there.
Gotcha.
And
I-
I asked them to add it to the minutes, like Cindy asked.
Gotcha. I put my email in the chat.
Oh,
Thank
okay. Send it to you as well. Thank
Joe,
you.
I have one last question. You're talking about irrigation in the drip system. How's that working for you? Because we talked about it in our community arena, and a couple years ago, Morris gave an issue, and those things get clogged up. I had them in the house, and had no problem. Are they working good?
most areas are working well, and it's in the contract that if they need to be replaced due to plugging, they will replace them at their cost. They will pay for their own replacement. So at this point, I'm happy. The only place that I've seen that we have any kind of issue is on the end of Breno, where we always have an issue of it not getting enough water to really satisfy them. But otherwise, they seem to be doing fine everywhere else.
I have a question. I asked this to our board the other day. The Southwest Florida Water Management funds lots the irrigation water. And they provide X number of gallons, helping preserve the community, and X number of golf course. Is there, to your knowledge, a breakdown of how many gallons each community gets, or do they just decide to run for 5 minutes twice a?
I do not know that.
Okay.
Anything else for today? Thank you, everyone, for your participation. The next meeting is in February. If you cannot attend, please let Georgia know to make sure we are going to have a quorum. Otherwise, do I have a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn, Susan?
I second the motion.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned.